going on, guys? This Biohazard Candy Kid coming at you here with another great video. And I'm here at another local vape shop here in South Carolina. And just talking with the employee of the shop and, you know, want to get some information basically on the whole ban that they want to try to do here in vaping, and, you know, what this shop is trying to do to stay alive and keep the government off their backs. And also, you know, just talk about what flavors he sells and, you know, basically, you know, how much revenue he makes and what the customer base is, and, you know, talk about some other things. Alrighty, so, yeah. Got like a bunch of cats here. It's a cat video today. So we were talking earlier about how, you know, Big Tobacco is basically owns like a bunch of the pod type
disposable, non-refillable pod devices,
like Juul and stuff like that,
Juul, Views,
which they mostly sell to gas stations, because I used to work at a gas station, and we sold a bunch of Views, Blue, and there was another one that was like a fat one which had refillables.
Views and Enjoys.
Enjoys.
Yeah.
And some other brand too that's been out for a long time. And at first in California, where I'm from, they had a bunch of flavors. So then California put a ban on flavors except for tobacco and just natural flavor, which
menthol.
Yeah. Well, they got rid of menthol. They banned menthol in California. You can't buy menthol cigarettes. Can't buy anything menthol.
It's a detriment to the black society.
Yeah, and what's funny is in England, Marlboro said they're going to stop selling cigarettes in England because they want people to be healthier.
Right.
Whereas here in the United States, they're doing the total opposite. Quit your healthy stuff and go back to cigarettes.
Big Tobacco owns a lot of the market.
Yeah.
They got their money and their fingers in everything.
Which a lot of the tobacco farms are already going to weed farms. Up in California, if you go to Northern California, close to like Yuma, past San Francisco, there's an area which has more than 700 weed farms, and you don't even see them from the highway.
Right.
And they're in the forest, and they've been there since like the 50s. And they're out there, they don't care. One guy did get seized. They found more than 700 plants, and he went straight to jail. This was before they legalized it and all this stuff.
Is that where they call the Emerald Triangle?
I think so. I don't remember the name.
It's just a perfect spot area, Northern California.
Secluded.
That just blooms with marijuana, cannabis.
Yeah, and I'm a big supporter of marijuana, like the CBD component, because there is the other component which a lot of kids do these days just to be stupid.
Right.
And you see how they don't want to go to school. I mean, school sucks anyways, but like they just don't want to do anything. They want to sit and watch TV and smoke, you know, on all that marijuana.
Well, I would fully, for it to be legal, I've said to many people, I started smoking pot when I was about 13 or 14. Killed a lot of my drive, killed a lot of my motivation, a lot of my, I can't think of that word now, but it took a lot of it away.
Took a lot of your life away.
Yeah, and I recognize that it's very harmless, but there is an age limit. You know, 13-year-olds shouldn't be smoking. Shouldn't be smoking cigarettes, shouldn't be smoking anything. And along with what you just said, a lot of farmers are going away from it, and another big reason of that is synthetic nicotine. Synthetic nicotine is chemically and molecularly identical to natural nicotine. You just don't need the plant to grow it. And there's only a very small set of people that are allergic to synthetic nicotine. But they also went through with the PMTAs, lobbied and said, hey, if it's nicotine, it's a tobacco product.
Yeah.
And they allowed it to happen.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that they're doing that are healthy, like you said, synthetic nicotine and stuff that don't require so much, you know, soil and water and stuff like that, which, you know, that is good too, because you want to regenerate the soil in the earth and stuff like that, because we do have a soil issue.
There's benefits to agricultural work, for sure.
Like hemp, which is a part of marijuana. It's just a different part, but you can use it to build things. And the government has always like said, oh, that's bad. ever since they showed that movie in the 30s,
Reefer Madness.
yeah, Reefer Madness.
And they even did a remake of it, which was horrible. Not as good as the first one. The first one was so campy, it made it good while you was getting high.
Yeah.
The second one, yeah, not so good.
And what's funny is they did Reefer Madness when right after Reefer Madness, starting in the 40s, a lot of doctors were coming out and saying, "Oh, have a cigarette. Have a cigarette." And then you got the 50s and 60s all about cigarettes. The women with the long pipes, the cool, cowboy guy with the cigarette.
Hey, the Beverly Hillbillies and the Flintstones, they advertised for Big Tobacco. Winston Cigarettes was a big advertiser on the Flintstones.
Yeah, we sold Winston's at our gas station in Temecula. Our biggest one was Marlboro. Marlboro took over because
They've got the.
And I remember, well, I wasn't born in the 80s, but I remember watching old clips of like Formula One, how there were Marlboro race cars and stuff, and it became big from the 80s on. Before, my mom used to tell me it was, Lucky Strikes?
Yeah. They did a lot on Flintstones.
The one with the green and white pack that they still sell.
Cool. Or Newport.
Cool was big in the 90s.
Yeah.
I remember all the DJ ads were cool. I was like, what the heck? And it was, they catered to kids.
Joe Camel. We had the Winston NASCAR Cup.
Yeah.
Now we have 3 Chi, who is a major component in the marijuana Delta market. They have sponsored a NASCAR.
Wow.
3 Chi has a legitimate sponsored NASCAR.
So
it's getting there. It's coming.
They just better not go to Texas, because in Texas, so there's a story of a family whose daughter had 300 seizures a day. I didn't believe it, but they showed it on TV. So the husband got a job in Colorado. They moved to Colorado, but I guess it was a little more expensive. So he stayed in Texas to live there while his wife was there with the daughter so she could get treatment. And she couldn't come across the border with anything, because in Texas, they consider it to be such a high crime that they will take your child away.
Yeah, I heard of that.
And I was like, what the? And when she started smoking weed at 5 years old, it was just CBD, her seizures stopped immediately. And then they went back to Texas because he was just there, and the mother and the daughter were like, okay, we have to go live with the father. They stopped the CBD. They didn't carry any into Texas. The daughter went back to having 300 seizures. And I was like, and I have a friend who has seizures, big time. But because of the weed and his medication, he rarely has them, And when he has a grand mal, it seems like it happens once every 3 years,
I've had customers come in before the Delta hit. He was buying CBD flower. When the Delta hit, he was buying Delta 8 gummies and some Delta 8 flower. And he was getting it for his grandkid, who had severe Tourette's and seizures. And he came in, he made videos, he sent them to his congressman, he sent them to everybody he could, showing the before and afters of his granddaughter having these Tourette's and seizures. And the after was just amazing. It's a well-known. The government has been lying to us for 100 years about the legality of marijuana.
Yeah.
But they yet still stand up and say, you're not strong enough to handle this. We need to control it for you.
Yeah, the founding
and the same for tobacco. Man, they were smoking raw tobacco thousands of years ago. It's well known. It's there. Maybe you should stop the cigarette manufacturers from putting all this crap in it to make it more addictive. Salt Nick. Salt Nick is a very popular juice. It has a very high amount of nicotine. It gets in you, it goes away. It doesn't last. That's what causes the kids to want to come back more, because it's a little buzz. It's been out there forever. The big tobacco developed it in the 60s. They were putting it in their cigarettes through the 80s.
Yeah.
But now it's a problem.
Yeah, my dad he went to Pakistan in the 70s, and they were smoking tobacco, but it's a cultural thing. So like for them, it's like a Saturday. They join together, they have their coffee, they smoke a little bit,
Smoke a
and
hookah.
they've been doing that for thousands of years. And you see how healthy they are because
Yeah.
of their diet also. But it's a traditional thing. It's not like here in America where we abuse it like alcohol.
Right.
You see guys go and buy a 40 ounce of alcohol. I don't drink, but I see them go in there, you know, at the gas station, and they buy like 6-pack of beer. And then they come back after their lunch break and buy more for home. And I'm like, really? And they would look at me and you know, and just be like, oh, you drink water? Man, I wish I could be like you. And I was
You
like,
can.
yeah, and it's a, you know, and they would say, well, we're Mexican because down in Southern California, there's a bunch of Mexicans there, and they say, oh, it's a cultural thing. I'm like, no, you're just abusing it because it's American culture.
Alcohol, tobacco, marijuana,
Drugs.
in a cultural, religious setting or environment or culture is very monitored. You don't abuse it.
Yeah.
The American culture has said, take as much as you can get. You know, hey, let Darwin do its thing.
Yeah, I mean, in Europe, they still have some of their culture on, you know, hey, just do a little bit, do it for the health reason, you know. That's why some part of Europe is advocating for the health side of it. Then there's the other part where it's just a bunch of youngsters who just want to get high or they want to take ecstasy and get drugged, you know. I mean, I was a part of the rave culture, so I understand that. I never took any drugs, but I've seen people who were just bouncing off walls.
Yeah.
And I was like, the drug is my music. The music I listen to, not this little pill, you know, and stuff. And I saw the effects. But with marijuana, you know, and vaping, I see how kids, you know, like I would say 18 and over, they seem to be doing fine if they do a little bit here and there,
Right.
and it's for the health benefit, you know. But the government just takes everything, lumps it all in one basket, and they say, nope, you're all done for. Like they did in California.
Yeah.
You're all done for except for Juul because they comply with our rules and regulations.
Well, Juul sold out to the big tobacco. Their whole mantra to begin with was a safer alternative to combustible cigarettes. They did some bad marketing. They did some good research. They did some really good research. They did a good job at developing a product, a cessation product, to get you off of smoking. But big tobacco just crowded the shit out of them, and they had no other choice if they want to stay in business to sell their business to their enemy.
Yeah, I saw, what was it, 2014 or 15 when the FDA really started to get involved. And I mean, I would watch famous YouTubers who were like big into vaping. They would be all about vaping. Their whole channel was it. And they would keep you posted on what the FDA was doing and what the government was doing. And there were just all these things like, oh, well, we're going to ban all this stuff. Oh, we're not. Oh, we want stuff to be made in the USA and not from China. And then I heard about this Juul, and I was like, okay, someone else is getting into vaping. But then I saw their little pod things. I was like, no, I don't like this idea. Because I was like, they're going to go with the industry. Like, they're going to go with the government. They're not going to go with us.
They're going to follow the line.
I saw from the beginning. And to speak about what you said earlier about Flintstones and, you know, how it's a kid's show and they cater to cigarettes. Like, one of my friends, his dad's from Holland. So his grandpa would bring back from Holland these chocolate cigarettes. It was literally chocolate sticks that looked like cigarettes. So you could eat it. But the wrapping, and my mom had one, and I thought she was really smoking a cigarette. So my buddy comes out with a fake package, and he started laughing, and I was like, bro, that's not funny. But they tasted good. But in Europe, they have that kind of stuff,
Right.
and children can buy it. I remember in Germany, you could go in an apartment building, down at the bottom, you could buy cigarettes and only be 16 years old. So
In the mid 80s, I was walking up the road to the local Revco, which is an old pharmacy, kind of like Walgreens or CVS. I walk up there and buy my mom cigarettes all the time. I'm in the 5th, 6th grade. My dad from Poland. They have a different look at drinking over there. Same thing. He used to go down the road and buy his dad's beer and liquor and bring it home and have a shot with him, share with him. It becomes a control, just like you know, getting rid of menthols to save the black community. It's bullshit.
yeah,
I don't care if the black community gravitates towards or likes menthols better than anybody else. You're not saving any community by banning something. What you're doing is creating a black market. One thing that this hemp regulation thing did in 2019, we used to have two different plants, a cannabis and a hemp plant.
Mm-hmm.
Same family, different plants.
Yep.
When the Farm Bill Act came out and slightly after that, they decided, let's make it one thing. They're both cannabis sativas. You just have a cannabis that's high in Delta-9 and a cannabis that's low in Delta-9. We'll call it hemp. Well, why didn't you just leave it the way it was to begin with? That was the definition already. So with that, they come up with a whole new set of laws that says, oh, wait a minute, Delta-9 is the controlled substance. It's not necessarily pot, it's Delta-9. But as long as the Delta-9 is under this weight value, so they make a big old heavy gummy brownie that has a lot of Delta-9 in it. But I thought Delta-9 was bad for you. They've come in now, they've decimated our Delta market. We can't sell anything except Delta-9,
so
the controlled illegal product.
So is that just for the state of South Carolina?
It's in a lot of states. Tennessee's working on it. Florida went through the same process. They came in and arbitrarily said this is illegal. They went to the courts. The court said no, it's not. So now they have just last week passed legislation. They actually went through the proper channels to make it illegal. And that's what's happening here. They've come through, they've arbitrarily said, this is no good, you can't have it, it's illegal. But it's not. And we'll get our Delta-8 back as long as the business can survive.
See, this just tells you it's not about Democrat or Republican. It's both sides doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Like I come from California. Yeah, we have Gavin Newsom, which is what I call him, because he's a knucklehead
right.
who loves China, loves children in that kind of way. And then I come over here and the first thing I found out is, oh, they want to ban this, they want to ban that. And here is conservative, right. More than California. I'm like, see, it doesn't matter.
Well, they really want to blame South Carolina if they're working on medicinal. If they allow medicinal marijuana in South Carolina, we'll be the 39th state, and we will be the 39th strongest state with rules and regulations. So they like to scapegoat and accuse the Deep South, the Bible Belt, the Republicans. No, man, I got so many people that come in here. I got 80-year-old women that come in here that's wanting a pre-roll, that's wanting a gummy, that's wanting something to help with their appetite, to ease their pain, to deal with their stress. And I'll bet you, I would love to set this up one day. You poll everybody that comes in here, you got more Republicans, more conservatives that are ready for this to happen.
Yeah.
But we're the scapegoat. We're the people, oh, that's the Bible Belt. They'll never allow it. It's not us not allowing it. It's our politicians. For whatever side of the aisle they sit on, they have their hands in the money, and they are the ones reaping the benefits. Therefore, we as consumers, as Americans that live in this country looking to be free, will never get it.
I mean, if people want to, talk about religion and Bible Belt and, Christian or Muslim or whatever, I mean, I could say, well, God created the plant. I mean, he didn't say, oh, you cannot use this plant. It's here, and stuff like that. And the other thing is, this country was founded off of hemp. Like they started writing on hemp.
Yeah.
They grew a bunch of it in the 17 and 1800s. And so, and they supported it. Yeah. Of course, tobacco was here as well at the same time. I mean, even the Native Americans were doing it, but the Native Americans were even doing marijuana.
Yeah.
But it was a ceremonial thing.
Right.
And the Europeans learned from that when they came here. But it's just the later generations that said, oh, this is pretty fun. Let's continue to do this. And even if they showed the movie Reefer Madness and they tried to ban it here and there, look at the 60s and the hippies. They did whatever they wanted. And
they were high the whole time.
And one of the biggest people was Richard Branson. And when he started Virgin Air, look at his airline in the beginning. Women dressed as they were, people smoking on there, all this. So 60s, 70s, 80s was the high time to be alive. And now we're in this era where my generation, starting in the mid-80s, millennials, to the 90s, we're like at the tail end where they just want to ban everything and save all the kids. Yeah. I'm like, you're not saving kids.
No.
There's a bigger agenda. If you want to save the kids, don't give them a cell phone at the age of like 2 years old.
Let's legislate that.
Don't expose them to criminal acts at a certain age. If they live in certain neighborhoods, help them out, but not stuff that helps them out, like medicinal weed and all this other stuff.
And it don't even have to go that far. It's not that it's a piece of we're trying to save the kids. It's a control issue. I mean, we had Cheech and Chong through the late 70s, 80s, glamorizing it, and they made money. They loved it. They promoted it because it was against the grain.
Yeah.
Now we've got kids doing the same thing, but they're going, yeah, we don't like that anymore. It doesn't matter what you like. It's what we like. We're the people. We're the citizens. We're the ones that put you there. And you're not doing anything that we ask you to do. Like I said, it doesn't matter which side of the aisle you're on. Once you get in that room, your thought processes change and you gravitate towards the money that's filling your pockets rather than the prosperity that could be filling ours.
Yeah, so prefacing off of that is they're trying to create the culture, because it's all about culture wars.
Right.
It has nothing to do with politics. It has something to do with money and lining their pockets, but it has to do with culture creation, and they're trying to create the culture for the two new generations, which is Generation Alpha and Generation Z, and they're trying to keep them on cigarettes, what their grandma and grandpa used to, do. And I've seen some of these Generation Z and Alpha kids do cigarettes, like their parents just allow it. And I'm just like, what the heck? But that is devastating, because cigarettes are just bad for you in general. But what's worse is you give a child a cell phone at an early age, because their developmental stage at the age of 5 and stuff is still there, and they should be tending to a book or learning about healthy things.
Let me clarify. I said a minute ago, maybe we should legislate that. Totally wrong. Parents need to legislate, not the government.
Yeah.
If you're Solicitor Wilkins, you stood up on the 16th of February and said 9-year-olds can walk into any of these stores and end up in the emergency room. You're wrong. Ain't no 9-year-old walking into any of these stores buying anything. Now, if you come in here and legally buy and leave that shit sitting around the house and your 9-year-old gets hold of it, there's no legislation for that except child neglect. It's already there. Take care of it there. Don't enforce your rule on me.
It starts at home.
That's right.
And don't go to your government to say that shop needs to close.
That's right.
Because this other child is doing something and my child is not. Because they take one child and they group it all together.
Yeah.
It's what they do. It's ridiculous. And so don't penalize the shop. Penalize the parent.
That's right.
It starts right at home.
Yep.
And since this is a Bible Belt, if we really want to clarify, it starts with God first. Because even in the Bible it says God comes first above all else. So it starts there, then it passes down to the parent, to the child. So that way when the child grows up, he can do the same thing. But
that's not happening.
But we have a culture today which is do what thou
wilt. We send our
wilt.
kids off to daycare, to babysitting at the public schools. Public schools tells us what's wrong. I remember my kids, I moved here in 2008. My kids were in kindergarten and first grade. And in the second year we were here, I had my kids coming home telling me, "You're doing drugs, Daddy. That's not good. You're doing drugs." And when I questioned them, because I smoked cigarettes and I drank coffee, they were giving the example, wait a minute, why is coffee bad? It's a drug. It's got caffeine. What about the Coke? Oh, that's just soda, Dad. No, soda's full of caffeine.
Yeah.
It's full of a lot of other crap that coffee don't have in it.
Yeah.
But you're sitting here telling me that I'm doing drugs because the school told you? Yeah, no, I pulled them out of that real quick.
Yeah, we had an uphill battle in Temecula with the schools. Gavin Newsom basically sent the textbooks that he wanted to send to the schools, and they refused, and he said, okay, you'll just pay a fine, and we'll still send the books anyways. Because Temecula, they don't mess around. They don't want their children being taught anything but Christian values and, the true facts of history, not the false facts, which I got taught too.
Right.
They teach us, the Civil War was this and this, when England funded both sides, And so basically, it starts at home with the parents. It doesn't start with the school or the government and stuff like that. But when you have the government come in, and the people who run the government came from these Ivy League schools with no brains at all, and they come in and they tell you what to do, you either comply or you fight it. There's only two choices. Sooner or later, what's going to happen, because South Carolina, people here, they're not like some other states in the United States where, you know, their gun laws are different. Here, the people are like tough. And if the government comes in, people will defend, you know, if need be. But at least the government here is a little more lenient than other states.
I don't know, man. They can't be too lenient. They've killed their Delta market. They're trying to eliminate disposables. They're trying to eliminate devices. They're trying to further the control of flavored juice, strength of juice, who can sell it, why they can sell it, who can produce it.
So before all this stuff was going on, what was the store like? Like, were you getting a bunch of customers? Was there a lot of product? Were sales through the roof?
We started as a vape store in 2014. Been a vape store up until, I guess, about 2018. We started doing some CBD stuff. We manufactured our own. We bought some of our own, or we bought some. Business was good. We've been doing really well. Pays me. Boss lady treats me very well. And in the past month, I'd say our business has been cut by 3/4. Our customer visits have increased 10 times. But no sooner than they walk in, they walk out, because we don't have the products that they're looking for. No more Delta.
So what do you think is going to happen if some of this stuff passes?
I'll be looking for another job. This will be, I don't know, a shoe store maybe. Maybe another tobacco store. There's a lot. We're independent. We're family owned, veteran owned. There's 3 of us that work in this store, and 2 of us are full time. If they continue with this, we will not be a business. We used to manufacture, unlike some other places that you walk in and you say, hey, I want this juice, I want it this nicotine. They turn around, they mix it, hand you a bottle. That's against FDA. That's not what the rules allow, but there's a few of them around here that still do it.
Yeah, I remember.
We have had a factory in Spartanburg. We shipped out over 5,000 liters a month to the entire country, to UK, to Australia. 5,000 liters of our juice that people call and order us.
And you were making profit.
Oh yeah, we were doing very well. When the PMTAs come out, the pre-market tobacco applications came out at the end of 2019, and the costs to get each individual SKU, if it was one flavor with 3 strengths and 2 bottles, now you got 6 SKUs you got to pay for, and it's upwards to $500,000 per SKU. Along with that came the rule that said you can no longer ship from business to residence. We didn't retail or wholesale. We didn't wholesale our juice. We sold Joe Blow in Kansas City a liter of juice for $150.
Jeez.
And we sent 5,000 out a month. Well, now they wanted all this money for these PMTAs, and that was fine. We took care of that. But we couldn't send to a residence no more. We couldn't send to old Joe that's sitting back, don't want to go to town. He just wanted his stuff delivered. What are we supposed to do with 5,000 liters a month? Where do we send it to?
So basically, if laws get passed, couldn't you just like change the name of your store and then call yourself a smoke shop so you could skirt the law? Or
well, you could, but if we're still selling vape stuff, no.
Because that's what a lot of smoke shops did in California, where California basically put it to where you have to pay $250 a fine if you're going to sell vape stuff, and if you don't sell just Juuls and stuff like that, which is tobacco and regular flavor. And so the smoke shop said, we're still going to operate with the regular stuff. We'll pay the $250 fine because we make so much money, it doesn't even matter. $250 is nothing. Now, I understand if they were to slap maybe $10,000 on them, but $250? But the gas stations, like the one I worked at, which was Arco, AM/PM, they completely just said, okay, we're only going to sell tobacco flavor, and we're only going to sell regular flavor.
Okay. So you can't vape. That's fine. But if you can, and you're willing to, I have no interest. Nicotine is no more dangerous than caffeine. It's just how you get it. Smoking is the worst way you can get it. And they're still promoting smoking over a more healthy alternative.
And even doctors now who have been in the business for a while, they even tell you smoking is bad for you.
Yeah.
Whereas in the 50s, they prescribed a cigarette for you because
I tell people all the time, 50 years ago, doctors told pregnant women to smoke to help with their morning sickness. Now it's the worst thing in the world you could do. And I get it. In 50 years, if they come tell us that vaping is the worst thing that you could do, I made it 50 years longer than I would have not smoking.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of people who recover when they do vaping already. So, yeah, I mean, it's an uphill battle for everyone. I mean, especially small business. You know, America was built off of small business. And my dad started his own business when he was like 13 practically in Italy. My brother started a business. I want to start a business. So I'm a big supporter of small business. And to see the government come in and just say like, hey, you can't do this, you can't do that. It's like, who are you to tell me? And plus, I mean, our Constitution was founded to where we have small government or no government at all, just people there just to protect us from outsiders like other countries and stuff like that. And give us the basic rules that come from God, basically. You know, don't steal, don't, you know, rape, don't murder, you know, stuff like that. But what they've become is they become just
total dictators.
Yeah,
they dictate everything they want to be done. I saw a little video earlier, and the lady in the video did a real good job. She goes, you know, 150 years ago, we didn't need a license. We didn't have to ask anybody for permission to go fishing, to grow a garden, to build a garage, which they didn't need garages back then, but a little outhouse for your chickens or whatever. And we've got to a point now to where you can't hardly walk down the street. I've heard California's real big. You got to have a damn bike license in a lot of places. There's a lot of cities in California. The videos I see just seem to come from California where this dude's getting a ticket because he doesn't have a bike license. Yeah,
cops in California are, well, first of all, the United States is not supposed to have a police force. A lot of them, actually all of them, they are Freemasons. They go to Freemasonry lodges, and if you ask police officers, hey, which Freemason lodge do you belong to, they won't tell you. We had one in Temecula, and it was right by the DMV office, and you know, you could see the building was blue and white, and so a lot of these officers go around and they do stupid stuff. Like I got pulled over once riding a bike. The cop had me stand, walk straight in a line, hold my arms out. And I was like, what the heck is this? And my mom called and I was going to answer my phone, but then, you know, the cop goes, hey, put your hands, you know, where I can see them. And I was like, really? I mean, no wonder why a lot of hip hop artists in the 80s started talking about cops and how corrupt they are.
Right.
Yeah, there's good ones out there, but it's not their job. It's the person itself.
Right.
But then you get a bunch of these other ones who, yeah, they just get you for anything. And the bicycle thing, it's mostly because, like, you do get stupid people who do stupid stuff.
And with all these, you know, even the rules of you can't collect your own rainwater. You can't sell at a farmer's market without a permit. I get it. There's a lot of bad actors out there.
But you can't.
Know, we had it in the 80s, the big Tylenol scare. Somebody was going into grocery stores, poisoning the Tylenol. I remember seeing it on the news, and I was like second, third grade. And I get it. That's a reputable company putting out reputable products, and there's a bad apple out there poisoning people. So we have to make new laws, new regulations. I get a lot of that.
That's the same thing with...
most of it comes down to just common sense
and the
freedom of the people. Yeah.
Epsom salt, you have to be 18 and over to buy it now because people are turning it into fentanyl. They're turning Epsom salt into drugs, so they banned kids from buying Epsom salt, so you have to be 18 and over.
I haven't heard that one.
Which you can readily make drugs out of anything.
Yeah.
So why not just ban everything on this planet?
Might as well.
I mean, but they're not going to ban bugs because they want us to eat bugs. They want us to eat GMO. But they'll ban everything else that is natural.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
Back in about 100 years ago, turn of the century, I tell people a lot, I don't know my great-grandparents. You probably don't know yours. Probably never met them. Don't know a whole lot about them. But our great-grandparents, our great-great-grandparents, through the 1800s, whenever that, they lived off the land. They did everything themselves. They had a market. They could go buy some medicals, whatever they needed. But for the most part, they knew how to take care of themselves. Turn of the century, we get big pharma. We get big tobacco, we get the Rockefellers, we get DuPont, newspapers. They all banded together to make this one natural plant that had so many uses. I put in the analogy, do you know what you could use dandelions for?
All sorts of things.
Man, dandelion is a weed that nobody wants in their front yard.
Used to be a medicine. You can buy it at the grocery store.
Used to be a medicine that takes care of a lot of stuff. Oh, but guess what? That's not FDA approved. Well, why not? Because it's a naturally occurring substance. You cannot patent a naturally occurring substance. The tobacco manufacturers got out of it because they made a formula, a recipe that they soaked their tobacco in that made it theirs, their Marlboro, their Winston. Nobody wants that done to their pot. We want you to grow it, dry it, sell it. That's it. We're not trying to adulterate it in any way. But if you can go out and pick from your front yard something that grows without your regulation, cuts them out of money, cuts them out of everything. They refuse to, all these GNC stores with all these non-FDA approved dietary, we hear every year we come out with these studies that show, oh, olive oil is just high fructose corn syrup. Oh, all these non-FDA, they're filled with fillers and this and that. Well, then protect us from the bullshit and make sure that we have a healthy product on the market, as the FDA should. Oh, well, we don't have the resources or the manpower to test all. Well, you got the 10 years to research a drug that gets me hard but causes me severe constipation. I mean, where's the sense in that? We used to be able to take care of ourselves, and now we have a government that's poisoning us.
You know, if anything, and I know a lot of people have a lot to say about this, which I saw this coming. What happened in 2020, 2019, the whole coronavirus thing?
Oh.
When I first heard about it, I said, you know, didn't we have this like 2,000 years ago called the Black Plague, where the government made up something? Except the Black Plague was sort of real, because when they went to go fight in the East, one of the tactics was the Chinese would throw cows over the wall and they would start diseases. It wasn't the story of the rats and the ships and all that. It was they threw, Attila the Hun was famous for doing that. Here in modern times, they did the exact same thing. They sort of came out with something, but they blew it up as something else, when it was just a regular flu that we get. And what'd they do? They said, oh, you are not going to protect yourself. We're going to protect you. Here, just take a shot in your arm.
That's right. Take a second one.
Take a
guess
third.
what? We got a third one.
No, they don't even have to tell you to take a third one. Now they just sell it at the store. You buy a little pack. I mean,
they've dropped everything down now. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, COVID was the end of the world. Now they just came out with, oh, no more 5 days. Just treat it like the flu. I'm not a very educated man. I'm smarter than hell, but I ain't very educated. I knew from day one, this is crap. This is their practicing control on us, and they did. Don't leave the house. Don't get 6 feet from each other. It just
George Orwell.
Maybe 2 masks will do you well, you know. Every conspiracy theory that they accused us of has come to fruition as being correct. You know, and we're supposed to trust you further?
Yeah. You know what's funny is you mentioned masks. I remember that they were showing pictures of Chinese people in China with all kinds of masks. They were making their own. So at home, we actually have real fallout masks, which are approved by the government. They're military grade fallout masks. So if a nuclear fallout comes out, you could breathe as clean as day. So in Temecula, used to go to I went to Trader Joe's one time. I put the whole apparatus on, and people were looking at me like I'm stupid. And I'm like, I'm doing this because you're all doing it.
That's right.
But I'm making fun of you. Why are you making fun of me now?
I kind of did the same thing. I worked at BMW full time when that happened. They sent us home for about 6 weeks. And when we came back, we worked all day long, but the line wasn't running. We were just there, which is fine, free paycheck. We had to wear a mask. Didn't matter what kind of mask it was. So me being the smart ass I am, I went to Walmart and I bought me some lace material. I took this lace material, I folded it in half, cut it into a triangle, and I wore it. You could see my mouth. You could see everything. I could breathe right through it. I wanted to breathe without breathing my own breath, without fogging up my safety glasses. I wanted to be comfortable. And they literally told us, we don't care what kind of mask you wear, you just have to wear a mask. And here I am wearing a mask with holes the size of quarters in it, and it was totally okay because it was a mask.
Man,
what kind of protection is that?
You had it lucky because at the gas station, my one of the bosses didn't really care too much. He would just kind of tell you, oh, just pull it up a bit. Then I had another one who, I mean, he was from Washington State in any event, but like he was the other manager because it was family run. There were like a bunch of members owning it, and he was like, hey, come on, Roman, you need to put on the mask because you're like the front runner for everyone else. And I would just do it just to appease him, but that was it. But for the most part, we took it off, you know. Of course, they had cameras so they could watch what we were doing and stuff, and they'd say, hey, where's your mask? But they didn't do that too much, but you had instances where they would just tell you, hey, come on, you know,
right.
And stuff like that. And California was, you know, more crazy than other states, you know, just like New York, New Jersey.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I put on that big old mask just walking into Trader Joe's, just walking into Costco and stuff, making fun of other people. And I did it because people in China were coming out. They
the absurdity of it.
They would literally take big jugs of water, like water bottle jugs,
Yeah.
put it over their head, make a cutout, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like kind of you did, you know, just have a big hole. And in China, they didn't bother them, but they had a thing over there. So I said, you know what, I'm going to do that.
The Chinese and Japanese cultures to begin with, I remember seeing growing up, they're a culture that believes in wearing a mask on the subways. Man, I saw this in the 80s. I see these little videos and
Yeah.
I question, why are all these? Well, you know, because they find it to be healthy. Okay, fine.
You know what?
I have nothing against you. What I find odd is you think that you have to ride down the street on a bicycle with a mask on. You have to sit in a car by yourself with the
Yeah.
windows rolled up and a mask on because you're trying to save me? Yeah, no.
You know, speaking of Japanese culture and Asian culture, what's funny is if America wants to be healthy, look at Japanese culture because
You don't have the
we read
obesity problem that they have.
Yeah, we read books over here that say, oh, Japanese and Chinese and Asian cultures, they eat a bunch of vegetables. Actually, in Japan, they eat more meat than we do, but they walk everywhere. They ride bicycles
Right.
everywhere. Try to find one overweight fat person in Japan.
Yeah.
You'll find them if it's like someone who sits there and plays video games all day. But the majority of people, with every meal, whether it's lunch, dinner, or breakfast, they have meat. Any kind of meat.
A lot of fish.
There is a whole cowboy culture in Japan because they came over here, they saw our culture, and they created their own cowboy culture. They love ours. And they have a bunch of cows over there. And they promote meat like crazy. And they're healthy.
Yeah.
And us in America, we're like, oh.
And the Japanese are smoking fiends. They
Yeah.
smoke like chimneys.
And the oldest woman, I forgot when, but she was 13 years old from Okinawa. Straight Japanese. And she lived on the island, ate fish her whole life. And here in America, they teach you too much mercury, too much red meat, too much this. Oh, but you can have your cigarette. You can have your vaccine. Quit your vaping, you know.
Right.
Do ecstasy. You know, don't educate your children. Let us do it. Over there, the government intervenes, but they intervene on like a more global level.
Right.
They don't intervene with the population because for 2,000 years, the Japanese have been doing the same thing. They have their monoculture. Here, everyone's mixed, and so they're trying to, control a mixed population, which you can't.
Yeah,
because
not
here,
everybody sees eye to eye, therefore not everybody's going to be able to fall under the same rule of law.
Yeah.
Like you said, I get it, there's a base level, but one doesn't fit for everybody.
Everybody here is mixed of every race. You got Italians, you got Polish, you got Irish, you got Japanese, you got Chinese. you can't manage that. And America was a failed project from the beginning. That's why the founding fathers set rules for it, because they knew that if you have a hodgepodge of people, it's a bunch of different ideas from different cultures. Like in California, which is culture centered, like in LA, San Francisco, you got parts which are totally Mexican. You can't go in there and just put a bunch of Russians in there and hope that they're going to, be like, oh, tacos and Russian food. It doesn't work like that. In China, you go to Chinatown, you can't put a bunch of black people there. I mean, it's not going to work.
Right.
You have to leave it the way it is, and it just functions. America functioned like that for ages. Now they want to change it. And so the same thing with this vape shop here, most of the people who come into vape shops, they say they're like the new modern hippies, like my generation stuff. Okay, so, I mean...
There's still adults walking in here.
Yeah, and weren't the hippies weren't they just people who didn't want to listen to the government?
Want to be free.
Yeah, and not Aleister Crowley type of free. They wanted to be real free, like natural free, like what God intended man to be. Fall under God's rules and say, government, you're only supposed to be here in case someone attacks us with warships and guns. Like, what happened to protect and serve?
We don't need you to be a babysitter.
Yeah, the government's supposed to protect and serve the country, but I guess it's the people that are supposed to protect and serve the government.
We have become a very lazy, self-loathing, I think most of society is looking for somebody to do it for them. We got a lot of talk right now about socialists, about Russia, about Argentina, a lot of South American. They look at a lot of this socialistic countries and think, well, they can do it, but they're not doing it. They're failing. They always have. We don't need such a dictator state where you got to tell me how to wake up in the morning. It's just unneeded. But we've turned in, because of our government, we've turned into a nanny state to where my job's too hard, I don't want to work so hard. Can you buy my groceries for me? No.
Yeah.
No.
No,
Get your ass up and go do something.
Americans have no idea what the heck is going on. Like, I would say 85%, 90%.
We are a blind society.
And a lot of the stuff that was created in the world did start from America, like communism, started in New York. It started in New Jersey. They sent a ship over to Russia with a bunch of gold, so that way they could pay off the people who were starting communism in Russia. So it's funny that what America started, that they were against, wants to return back to that and put it here.
Yeah.
And the people here don't understand that. Because see, after the English were gone out of the political stage of the world, conquering all these countries, they gave it to America, and America said, okay, we'll put our ideologies, the socialism, communism, around the planet, and see if it works there, and if it does, then we'll put it here. And that's what they're doing. They're taking it back and saying, okay, now we want to implement it here. Luckily, we still have people fighting for it, keeping our original Constitution and not letting it go to shreds. But you just see, like, incrementally. And where it's leading to is a singularity at the end, where there's no humans. There's just a bunch of robotic, computers running the show. You can watch it in a bunch of sci-fi films, But it's crazy, And I live at a time where I see all this legislation being passed, and I'm just like, oh, what the heck is that for? It doesn't even make sense for a human being.
Right.
Is this for me, or is this for a computer?
Yeah.
I think a lot of this is for computers, which computers aren't going to vape. Computers aren't going to do drugs. I mean, they're going to do viruses? Okay, cool. Like, that's been going on forever.
All right.
So a lot of this doesn't make sense. I mean...
It's a scary world.
So, I mean, in South Carolina, I just moved here. I've only been here a month. And the people here are cool, But I do see a lot of things that are changing, slowly but surely. Things are going over to one side than the other. And I'm just like, people better wake up here.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter who lives here. Like, I just recently went to Hardee's, which is the same as Carl's Jr. And one of the guys was from California. He was from Long Beach, And I told him, I came here, my family came here because basically we don't like the government there. you know, all the politics. But he asked where I was from, and I said Temecula. And Temecula is the crown jewel of California because our mayor previously, he was the best mayor ever. He owned a barber shop called Stu's Barber Shop. He'd been a barber since '85, but he was also a mayor of Temecula, and he didn't want any crap in there. And Temecula's budget, they could rebuild the 15 freeway 5 times. We had like $1 billion surplus budget. It was ridiculous. If Temecula was the capital of California, California would be the place of the world. Just the way we run Temecula. And so coming here to this small town, I see the same vibe, but I also see here that they're having struggles with the government, and the government wants to change things and, you know, ban this, ban that, and put this and put that. So it's like, it must be only the rural communities, you know, because the big cities, they already got them.
Right.
You know?
Again, it goes back, they blame a lot of it on the religious right, the Bible Belt. And I get that, man. Look, I'm not a religious person, but for whatever you want to believe, I'm not stopping you. I'm not infringing on you. You know, if you don't want to smoke dope, don't smoke dope. But don't tell me I can't buy beer on Sunday because it's against your religion. I don't care. I don't care. You don't want to drink, don't drink. You don't want to smoke, don't smoke.
There's a lot of churches here.
Yeah.
And it seems like the people here, like, I mean, I know there's mega churches too, which they just make money.
Yeah.
They don't teach the right thing in the Bible, because now you see a bunch of churches, you know, with rainbow flags and stuff, like distorting the whole rainbow thing.
Right.
But I'm talking about the small communal churches that have been here for centuries, you know, or hundreds of years in America. Those are the ones that I see where the people are coming together and say, hey, that's not right.
Yeah.
You know, but don't impose it on me.
Because they're not faced with the liberal onslaught where a megachurch has everybody from 3 counties coming over. This is a small church in rural Greenvill County, wherever, that, you know, 3 or 4 generations have gone to this church. They're a family. They're tight-knit. They don't care what you do outside of there. Just don't bring it into their town or their church. Okay. Don't have a problem with that.
I went to a church like that in Fresno. Our pastor, when he died, he had 300 people at his funeral. He was that renowned. And it was a small communal church. Literally, they were all family oriented. And after that, me and my mom struggled to find a church. Me, my mom, and my dad. Because the rest of them, they just seemed like they were out to get money. The last one we went to in Temecula, the guy literally had a whole complex. He wanted it to have a strip mall. He wanted it to be where people would go on vacations on an island to do retreats. He would even start Skyping from an island, wherever he was on his boat, and do service that way. I was like, what the heck? And then he started mostly talking about football. It doesn't matter the race or anything, but he started talking about football. And I was just like, excuse me? I came here because I wanted to hear God bless you, not 49ers bless you. I'm a
Right.
49ers fan, but like, really?
Yeah.
So I know there's still small churches left that are very communal, but they're far and few. It's mostly mega churches. It's mostly like Joel Osteen or, you know, stuff you see on TV, which I get it.
It's kind of like the vape stores. We're single owned. We got one store, but we're being damn near overcrowded by stores that have 200 or 300 stores under their belt, and they make us look bad. You know, they've got so many stores and so much power, they can get around not carding or selling what they're not supposed to. I've seen it firsthand. And they make us look bad because we follow the rules. We do what we're supposed to.
What do you think about all the vape stores banding together and doing like a superstore? And like.
No, you got to have your individuality. It's
Well,
kind of like our store. We pride ourselves on knowledge, experience, and customer service.
Well, I mean, like owning a big swath of buildings, but each little storefront is a vape store, and like.
It's kind of like, I mean, I can count 5 of them down this strip.
Yeah.
And
like to support each other and help each other.
well, right now we're supporting each other we've banded together on one of our group chats. I told people in there, I was like, you know, this is happening, this is coming down, and this is not the time to support your local vape shop, although that's a good thing to do. This is the time to support the local industry.
Yeah.
To have 5 stores in one strip mall competing against each other, it's not like a food court.
Yeah.
Not like a food court. You know, you can go to a mall and there's 20 different
Yeah.
places to eat from. Every one of these stores pretty much carry all the same stuff. And
just different prices.
Just different prices, different layouts. You know, so many of these vape shops are cookie cutter stores, man. They all look the same, and we like to stand out. We're different.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
people like that, you know.
That's what it was like in Temecula. We had vape stores that literally had pool tables. They had like arcade machines,
Right.
and they looked like a bar.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is a pretty cool experience versus the generic where, you know, you just walk in, it's like a hallway setting,
Right.
got stuff on this side, stuff on that side, you know. So I think it's good to stand out and stuff, but I also think it's good, you know, to band together and, you know, have a coalition and talk about things and be like, okay, well, the government's meeting on this day. Why don't we go over there as a group, you know, and say, hey, here's 5 of us.
That is happening. Just a bunch of individuals getting together to do that rather than us saying, okay, let's all be one.
Has there been anybody big from like at least around this area that has come to all of you guys and said, hey, I want to help you guys, so I want to put it together some group and give it a name? And
well, they have in the aspect of some very prominent CEOs, manufacturing personnel coming in saying, this is who I am. I own this, and what they're doing is crooked. So we've got this group together. If you'd like to be a part of it, donate, help us out with information. We've banded in a way that I'd say 90% of these vape stores around here have come together in this group complex, donated money. We're fighting for the same cause. But I am fighting for you to stay open and sell what you sell, but I'm not fighting for your store.
Ah.
You know, because we literally have a pretty good lock on, like I said, our knowledge, our experience, and our customer service. I have so many people that come in here that bitch and complain about these other stores, don't know what the hell they're talking about, and they'll tell them anything. I've had people come in complaining. Somebody went in to get CBD gummies. They walked out and they were high for 3 days because they gave them Delta gummies, you know, and that ain't us. And we don't need places like that. I don't need you to just want to make money selling vape or Delta. We need you to help educate the community on what to vape, how to vape, what Deltas to get.
And it's free education. It's not like you're going to school, you know, paying $25,000 for, you know, someone to tell you, hey, take this, not that. Same thing I did with my friends. My friends got me into vaping, which at first I wasn't keen on it because I didn't know too much. And I thought it was just like someone who took a cigarette, made an electronic version because the new generation grew up with electronics.
Right.
But then I found out the health benefits and all the other stuff. So I fully fledged, learned as much as I could. And then my friends would come to me once in a while and be like, hey, what'd you find out? And so when I would, you know, tell them, you know, what coils to get, which one's better, they just said, okay, all right, we'll follow your advice. You did all the research. They didn't come and bitch and complain to me about it.
All right.
And I told them, I said, if there's anything I don't know, go to a vape shop because they sell the stuff. They know better than I do. I'm just someone who researches it at home, you know, for free. So I think, you know, education is keen.
Yes.
They should come to the right place. If the other store doesn't know anything, I mean, but you still want to buy from there because maybe their price is low, you can go there too.
Yeah, you can do your research and find out what you like. A lot of this is all trial and error. You're not going to come in here and find a juice and a vape and be stuck on it right there. And don't get too comfortable because every 6 months, it's like a cell phone. These change every 6 months, man, every 3 months. There's always something different. The market's moving. Don't get too comfortable with what you got.
And what are your biggest sellers in like the vapes? Is it the stick ones, the pod ones, or the ones where you have the mod and the refillable tanks, or the RDAs?
It's about half and half, from what we call a cloud machine to what I call a salt burner. You don't put salt nicks into a cloud machine, although a salt burner can do both kinds of juice. And it's about probably equal. People want a big cloud machine with low nicotine or a small compact device with almost no cloud to 50 milligrams of nicotine.
Because the other vape shop I talked to, they said they were slowly moving away from the big box mods and just starting to sell more of just the non-refillable ones.
The disposables.
Yeah, disposables.
But these are very, very uneconomical. They are not cost effective.
Yeah, refillables, I mean, when they first came out with pod ones, I remember when the whole industry started coming out with pod ones, and I was like, this is just like a rechargeable battery, except some are disposable, some there is a detachable thing, but you must buy the little pod thing.
Right.
And I'm like, no, I just want to have this much juice and just this many coils and just change out the coil and keep the tank.
Yeah.
It makes more sense.
Well, like the Views, the Enjoys, the Juuls, you have a pod and you have a battery. Now you can refill that pod probably, golly, depends on your juice and your usage. I can get 2 to 4 weeks out of that pod before I have to refill it. And
like,
I can
like you buy the new pod, right?
Right. So this here is
and how much does the pod go for?
$6. You just refill it. Snap the top off, refill it. You throw that away, you get another one. You cannot refill it. No, you can, and I have. There's a way to crack all these open, put you some juice in it. It may not work the same, but so here's essentially what they said. Because we're trying to save the kids, you cannot throw away a piece of plastic and metal because we don't want you to have flavors. But what you can have is 500 flavors in this where you're throwing all this lithium away in the trash. So we've got kids in Africa and China mining this shit with their bare feet and their hands so that you can throw away lithium all day long. But you can't put your own juice in a piece of plastic and metal that will eventually, it'll break down. It could be recycled. If you want to crack it and get the aluminum, the steel, there's things that can be done. To recycle the little bit of lithium that's in these, nah, just throw it away. It's okay. Our landfills will take care of it in about 10,000 years. That's the absurdity. I can use this for over a year, this lithium ion battery. For over a year. But this one, I get about a week out of it, toss it.
You remember those stick vapes that were like colored?
Yeah, the Ego pens.
And yeah, the Ego pens. I still have mine. Yeah. Original blue, works.
Well, we sell them now for your Delta carts. That used to be the way to vape. And you put a couple drips in it, you get a couple hits. So, you put a couple drips, you get a couple hits. Yeah,
they had the tank. Mine comes with a tank, but I remember when they had the plastic tanks where the wicks were this long and you could not put cinnamon inside because it would literally burn the heck out of you. And it could even start a fire. So cinnamon was a flavor that you should not even touch. When they went to the glass tanks and the wicks were a little bit shorter, then you could put cinnamon flavored stuff in there. But the old ones just had a problem. So yeah, I just wanted to, talk with the local owner here of a vape shop,
Well, I'm not the owner.
Well,
I'm the manager, but
yeah, manager.
This is as much my life as it is the owner's.
I just wanted to get some insight, because I'm new here and I wanted to figure out what the vape laws were and, how the industry's going here at least.
Well, it's going well if they'd quit putting their crooked fingers in it.
I'll try to do my best to interview other vape shops, and stuff like that. And just interview people around town and see what, they think about it. Right. What policies they would want or they wouldn't want, and stuff like that. So, and this being a Bible Belt state, I'm sure here everyone's going to, refer to the Bible on some things, on laws and stuff like that.
There's not too many people opposed to vaping. The people opposed to vaping are the same people opposed to smoking. Oh, it's a stupid habit. You're just wasting your money.
Yeah.
I get it, but so is ice cream after dessert.
Yeah.
To each his own.
All right. So, yeah, it was a good interview.